I know before I travel to any country, the first thing I do is go online to see the experience of other black people who have visited that country. That way, I'll get a gist of what I'm likely to experience and get to know if that country is worth visiting or not. As a black American who has been traveling the world for the last 4 years straight, I've decided to rank every country I've ever stepped foot in. To come up with a list based on my personal experience of the best countries for African Americans to visit. Oh, and by the way, if you like this idea, then like the video. Now, I normally stay in countries for at least a month at a time, but I'm making this list with you in mind. You're working at a regular 9 to 5 job, therefore the time off you have is limited. So you have to enjoy each and every single day of your vacation. Therefore, I'm going to categorize each of these countries in 4 different categories. Number 1 is top shelf. You need to come here right away. Number 2 is going to be worth a visit. These are countries that are 100% worth traveling to, but you don't have to make them your top priority. The third category is skip it. Skip it is just like, I wouldn't even recommend you come here. It's not really worth your time based on the criteria that I find. And then the last one is airport only. These are countries that I've been to for a few hours, only for a layover. Now, the first country that I'm going to be judging is the country of Tanzania. Fun fact, this is actually the first country that I went to outside of America, and I'm actually going to rate it as top shelf. You have the easy access to the land, right? There's a ton of flights that go to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania from pretty much anywhere in the world, which is cool. Number 2, you have Zanzibar Island. Zanzibar is a world-class island destination for people all over the world, from the US, Canada, all the European countries. They all want to experience Zanzibar Island. So yeah, really cool experience, and it's a typical African experience. So Tanzania is a top shelf country in my opinion. Number 2, the second country that I have is Thailand. Now, there's a lot of people who love Thailand, who like Thailand is their favorite country in the world to visit. For me, Thailand is skip it. I know it's crazy, it's wild, but it wasn't my cup of tea. A lot of idols everywhere. The air quality is very, very poor in the country of Thailand. They're cooking pork everywhere, so you kind of feel greasy every time you kind of come back inside from a trip out. I was in Bangkok, Thailand. It is the least walkable city I've ever been to a day in my life. It takes an hour to walk anywhere. The one thing I'll say that I do like around Thailand is the snacks. The snacks are really, really good in Thailand. Top tier snacks. Now we have Rwanda. So Rwanda is actually a country that I went to recently, but it was an airport only country, so it has to be airport only. I was there for just a few hours, but the airport was surprisingly tiny, right? Whenever someone mentions the country of Rwanda, they always mention how developed it is and how it's the Singapore of Africa. And I flew with Rwanda Airways. It was the most janky airline I've ever experienced. They never even sent me a confirmation email. They never sent me my itinerary. They never sent me anything. The one email they sent me was an update, okay? And it was an update around they had changed my flight to a later time. So one of the lowest quality experiences I've ever experienced when it comes to flying. So it's an airport only country, but based off of that experience, and even my experience in the airport, the staff was quite slow to get people processed and get people through so that we can go to our connecting gates. So yeah, Rwanda doesn't have a very positive score in my books. Now we have Ethiopia. All right, now Ethiopia was going to be an airport only country, but it turned out to be something totally different. So I flew Ethiopian Airlines on my way from Uganda back to where I am now in the country of Egypt. And they ended up giving me a hotel in the country for the 10 hours that I was there for the layover. And they gave me transport from the airport to my hotel and from the hotel back to the airport. And so I was able to experience Ethiopia for 8 hours, got a free meal and everything. I have a whole vlog about it on my channel. Ethiopia is a country that I 100% plan on going back to and plan on visiting. Egypt. So I'm in the country of Egypt right now. It's very simply worth a visit, okay? So I'm actually going to shift Egypt first before Ethiopia. 100% worth a visit. The funny thing is, Egypt and Ethiopia right now, I believe, are having a feud over the Nile River water. Ethiopia wants to build a dam. Egypt is like, don't build that dam, right? But yeah, Egypt is a country that I've been living in for the past 3 years. Everyone knows Egypt has the pyramids. Egypt has so much history from the Romans, from the Grecians. Egypt itself had many dynasties, right? Biblical history in the country of Egypt. So it's definitely worth a visit. I've always found Egyptians to be some of the kindest people on earth. right? I've had many instances where I have a motorcycle here. I've been here so long. I have a motorcycle here. My sister has a moped. I've had incidences where my motorcycle broke down. There was something wrong with it, and a random Egyptian who I've never seen before in my life would pull over to the side of the road, fix my bike, shake my hand and say, welcome to Egypt, and keep on going about their day. Right? Didn't ask me for any money, didn't like try to extort me or any type of thing like that. And that's a very, very rare thing to experience. And yes, I'm a black man. And so there's a lot of talk around maybe them not liking black people. Or maybe a lot of people say as well, I experience certain things because I'm an African American. But again, I don't think that somebody who sees me on the side of the road, my motorcycle broke down, spot and say, he's an American. Let me go ahead and help him. Egypt is one of those countries that's it's 100% worth a visit. 100% worth a visit. Okay, now we have Turkey, right, which is Egypt's neighbor to the north. And Turkey is actually one of my favorite countries that I've visited, Istanbul, Turkey in particular. One of the most photogenic cities I've ever been to. Now, Turkey is a country that's very, very, very modern. The architecture was absolutely insane in the country. And the people were not the nicest, I'll be honest with you. The people were not the nicest. They don't like tourists that much, right? It's just like they say, all roads lead to Rome. Well, Rome and Turkey have a shared history together, so all roads lead to Turkey. If you fly internationally a lot, you're going to end up in Turkey for some type of layover, and you can easily just walk out the airport during that layover and experience the country. But by the way, it's Eddie here. It's super loud. I'm in the airport right now, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick message. For those of you guys who are like, okay, I'm in the airport, like I said. How do you travel? How do you do the things that you're doing without ever talking about going to work, without ever talking about having to clock in or clock out for your job or have to ask for time off? Well, I created a free training. It's 10 minutes long, and it's in the description of my video. If you always wanted to know how to make money online, well, now is a really good time to learn. Click the link in my description and put your name and email in and watch the free training. So Turkey, worth a visit. It's going to be at the back of this category simply because, like I said, they're not the most tourist-friendly country, and as well as, from what I'm hearing, it's getting quite expensive to visit there. Now, South Africa is the newest country that I've visited. Well, I guess Ethiopia is the newest country, but South Africa, I stayed there for over a month, and it was quite a fun time. It is a top shelf country. You need to visit South Africa. Matter of fact, South Africa is above Tanzania as a place to visit, okay? Because you got Cape Town, you got Durban, you got Johannesburg. My favorite city so far in South Africa has been Johannesburg. Cape Town, I didn't like it as much because the people were unfriendly, the weather was very windy. But in Johannesburg, oh my goodness, the people were amazing, the women were beautiful, the food was nice, right? The atmosphere, there's a certain energy that I can't explain, but it's just a positive and infectious energy inside the city of Johannesburg. Next time I go, I want to go to the city of Durban, and I think Port Elizabeth, you got East London. I just want to just travel around South Africa. But if you're looking to travel to a country that's quite similar to America, South Africa is it, with a small, like South Africa has a small blend of Africa in it, especially if you go to Joburg. But if you want the more African experience, then you want to go to Tanzania. If you want like a smooth transition, South Africa. Now we have the country of Bahrain. Bahrain was an airport-only country. I was in Bahrain for I think 13 hours during a layover when I was flying from Egypt to Thailand. Now I'm gonna rank Bahrain, of course, above Rwanda because I flew Gulf Airways, which is the Bahrainian country's airline. Very good experience on Gulf Air. Very affordable prices, surprisingly. So it's a Middle Eastern country, so they have like the oil money. So there's like a Maybach inside the airport. Your money does not go very far at all in the country of Bahrain. I spent $13 on a bowl of hummus and some bread. All right, so very expensive country for sure. And of course, the airport is going to be more expensive. But at the end of the day, very nice country. But it's not a place that I'm going to say you need to visit here. Now the next country is the Netherlands. This is going to be airport only. And this is actually going to be the lowest rank, like the lowest possible rank. I was flying from the US back to Tanzania, and it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. I flew KLM, which is a Dutch airway. They were, in my opinion, quite prejudiced towards me. I would raise my hand, right? Have my hand raised, just make sure it's in camera. Somebody else raised their hand after me, but they were having a complexion for their protection. And they would never answer my question actually, and go to the other person to service them or to help them. The staff was very rude. I did not enjoy my experience on KLM one bit. I would highly advise against flying KLM. They couldn't pay me to fly KLM. Now, with that being said, I had friends who flew KLM who said I had a great time there, right? And so that's the thing about travel is that everyone has their own unique experiences. We got Uganda. I know this is going to be crazy, but I'm going to say skip Uganda. Even though I spent a quarter of my year in Uganda, went there twice last year in 2024, even though I'm going to go back, the first trip that I take outside of Egypt will be Uganda, I'm going to tell you to skip it. And the reason why I'm going to tell you guys to skip it is that it's not much to do there. You are kind of going back 30, 40 years into the past. It is a beautiful country filled with the most kind and honest people. It's definitely one of my favorite countries outside of Egypt as far as living. But I told you guys, I'm making this list for you guys who are not having that much time off. If I had to spend 2 weeks, let's say in a place, 3 days in a place, 5 days in a place, I'm not going to Uganda. No way. I'm going to South Africa, or I'm going to Tanzania, or even like Turkey, okay? But I'm not going to Uganda if I only have 3 days, 4 days off. We got good old Kenya. Now, Kenya is airport only. I went to Kenya when I'm going to put this in the top of airport only. I went to Kenya when I was flying from Tanzania to Egypt the first time. So when I was moving from Tanzania to moving to the country of Egypt, I flew Egypt Air, and they had a stopover in Kenya. I'm going to put Kenya as the number one in airport only. And I believe Kenya is actually going to be a top shelf country. But I have not visited the country for real yet. But everyone's been asking me, when am I going to Kenya? When am I going to Kenya? Y'all willing, this year I'm going to Kenya. Okay, my plan is to go to Uganda first. Boom. I'm gonna spend a few months in Uganda, traveling around different regions, making some of the best content for you guys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already, because man, the content is gonna be fire. And then after Uganda, I plan on taking a bus over to Kenya. I can get a bus ticket for like $21. So yeah, why not? Take a bus over to Kenya and then stay in Kenya for like 3 months as well. Just making some really good content for you guys. And then we have the US of A. Now, I'm gonna put the US of A in the skip it category. Why? Because you guys can make staycations, you guys can stay in the US, travel around to different cities or travel around different states. But at the end of the day, like, I really want to encourage my people, right? The so-called African Americans, what I refer to as Hebrew Israelites. I would prefer us to begin to explore outside of Babylon the Great. Let's leave America, let's experience things outside of that country. Okay. It's like when you leave America, you realize there's a whole other world outside of what we know, right? There's a whole other world. People speak an entirely different language, eat entirely different foods, have entirely different sets of cultures than we do. And when you're just always in the States, it's kind of hard to really think about that. But once you leave it, it's like, oh my goodness, like the whole time I was in the US going through McDonald's lines and eating that KFC and Taco Bell, there were people living in Uganda, or people living in Turkey, or people living in, right, what's another country? Kenya, this whole time. And it's like, it's such an eye-opening and interesting phenomenon, interesting feeling to feel. So since South Africa tops my list as the best country for you to visit as an African American, I'm going to tell you guys to watch my video of my first day in Johannesburg, South Africa. It should be appearing on your screen right now. Check it out. 190,000 people cannot be wrong. It is an amazing video.